The spring of 1940 did not arrive bearing renewal. It opened with the roar of steel, with the thunderous advance of a war machine sharpened over many years, when Adolf Hitler unleashed his lightning campaign across Western Europe. The world witnessed a flood that seemed impossible to contain. In only a matter of weeks, nations that had once trusted in peace collapsed one by one. Norway, Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and then France. The shadow of the swastika spread across the continent, and Nazi Germany stood as a force that appeared nearly invincible. Amid that chain of collapse, only one island remained standing. Great Britain without continental allies, without buffers, without escape. Above its skies, the Luftwaffe, the most advanced air force of its time, prepared to unleash relentless bombardment, clearing the path for an invasion plan known as Operation Sea Lion. This was not merely a moment of national peril, it was a trial of destiny for European democracy itself. And within this fracture of history, a man emerged, not chosen by consensus, but summoned by fate. On May 10, 1940, the very day German forces surged into France and the Low Countries, Winston Churchill replaced Neville Chamberlain as Prime Minister of Britain. This transition did not resemble the calm rhythm of ordinary politics. It felt more like a ritual invocation amid a gathering storm. Churchill was no stranger to the stage. For years, he had warned of Hitler's ambitions and the mortal danger of appeasement. While others chose silence or fragile hope, he chose confrontation. That choice made him controversial, unpredictable, even inconvenient. Yet when darkness closed in on Europe, the voice long ignored became the compass. His first address to Parliament carried no comforting promises. There were no illusions, no shortcuts, only a stark truth placed before the nation's fate: blood, toil, tears, and sweat. It was not a speech meant to inspire ease, but a vow of endurance. As Paris fell and Western Europe trembled, Churchill's words became the final pillar standing amid the flames. Upon taking office, he ruled not through division, but through unity. He formed an unprecedented coalition government, drawing conservatives, labor, and liberals into a single circle of responsibility. In the face of existential danger, he understood that survival left no room for internal fracture. At the same time, he assumed the role of Minister of Defense, concentrating strategic command in his own hands, allowing no delay between decision and action. The first trial came immediately. In France, the British Expeditionary Force, alongside French and Belgian troops, was driven back toward the sea. Defeat loomed by the hour. From desperation arose a daring resolve: evacuate by any means from Dunkirk. Operation Dynamo was not born of perfect planning, but of raw survival instinct. Over more than a week, under fire and smoke, more than 330,000 soldiers were brought home. Churchill called it a miracle of deliverance, not because it erased defeat, but because it preserved the living core of Britain's army for the battles yet to come. France surrendered. Pressure mounted within the British cabinet. Voices whispered of negotiation, of compromise, of a fragile peace. Churchill refused to yield. To him, peace with Hitler was not peace at all, it was postponed enslavement. He said so plainly. In words that would echo through history, he etched into the national consciousness an unbreakable resolve to fight on the beaches, on the fields, in the streets, on the hills, and never to surrender. Preparation followed conviction. Coastlines were fortified. The Home Guard was armed. Food and fuel were rationed. War ceased to be an abstraction and entered every kitchen and every street. Churchill did not hide in bunkers. He walked through bombed neighborhoods, met citizens face to face, offering not empty reassurance, but shared resolve. Then the battle shifted to the skies. In the summer and autumn of 1940, Britain faced its defining ordeal. The Battle of Britain. The Royal Air Force, outnumbered and constrained, yet unbroken in spirit, denied the Luftwaffe air supremacy. When invasion was thwarted, Churchill immortalized their sacrifice with words that acknowledged a debt so vast it defied Messiah, debt owed by the many to the few. With Europe occupied, he did not wait in silence. Small-scale raids were launched. Resistance movements were encouraged. Sharp needles began piercing the Nazi war machine. At the same time, Churchill's vision extended beyond the island. He knew that courage alone would not suffice. Britain needed allies, new fronts, and time. In March 1941, survival was reinforced from across the Atlantic. Through the Lend-Lease program, the United States supplied Britain with ships, weapons, and food without immediate payment. To Churchill, this was more than material aid, was a signal that the free world had not turned away. When Hitler turned eastward and invaded the Soviet Union, Churchill made a decision that stunned many. Despite his lifelong opposition to communism, he pledged support to the USSR. Not out of trust, but out of necessity. From that pragmatic choice emerged a fragile but vital alliance, the foundation for the final confrontation with the darkness engulfing the world. From the moment the Soviet Union became a strategic ally, Churchill entered a new role, the balancer among powers that distrusted one another, yet could not stand apart. He pressed for expanded aid to the Red Army, sending weapons, vehicles, and food to prevent collapse on the Eastern Front. Military missions were exchanged. Communications between London and Moscow revealed a relationship marked by caution and necessity. Suspicion was inevitable, but defeat was not an option. When the United States formally entered the war after Pearl Harbor, the Grand Alliance was complete. 3 powers, 3 ideologies, 3 immense egos bound by a common enemy. Churchill was not merely a participant. He was a coordinator, a connector, a constant reminder that victory could not be achieved in isolation. In North Africa, British forces confronted the Axis in campaigns of decisive importance. Holding Egypt and the Suez Canal was not only a military imperative, but a symbol of Britain's continued global presence. Victory in 1943 opened what Churchill saw as a strategic gateway, their southern approach into Europe, the so-called soft underbelly of the Axis. He supported operations in Sicily and later mainland Italy. These campaigns forced Italy's surrender, yet also led to a prolonged and grueling struggle against German forces. Churchill understood the cost, but believed that each advance in the South weakened Germany's ability to resist the inevitable assault from the West. Pressure intensified. Stalin demanded a second front. Roosevelt pushed for a direct cross-channel invasion. At the Tehran Conference in late 1943, Churchill finally agreed to the plan he had long feared, a massive invasion of Western Europe, Operation Overlord. Despite deep reservations, he accepted its necessity, knowing history would not wait for hesitation. The months before D-Day were marked by immense strain. Churchill immersed himself in planning, from deception operations designed to mislead German intelligence to vast logistical preparations across southern England. He continued high-level diplomacy, ensuring the alliance held firm as the decisive hour approached. On June 6, 1944, the invasion began. During the first month of the liberation of Nazi-occupied Europe, Churchill played a crucial role both behind the scenes and before the public. He even considered landing in Normandy himself, seeking to share the risks of his soldiers, but was dissuaded for reasons of national security. After the liberation of Paris, Allied forces pushed toward Germany. Churchill maintained close coordination with Roosevelt and Stalin, working to keep British interests central to Allied strategy. He supported Operation Market Garden, a bold but ultimately unsuccessful attempt to achieve a rapid breakthrough into Germany via the Netherlands. Despite its failure, he stood by his commanders, recognizing that war allowed no guarantees. When Nazi Germany launched its final major counteroffensive during the Battle of the Bulge, Britain moved swiftly to support the United States. British forces assumed critical responsibilities on the northern flank. Churchill later praised American sacrifice, while affirming that Britain had fought with honor in one of the war's final great battles in Europe. In 1945, as victory approached, Churchill's focus shifted to the uncertain future. At Yalta, alongside Roosevelt and Stalin, he helped shape the post-war order. Yet beneath the formal agreements lay deep concern over Soviet expansion in Eastern Europe. He sought to preserve democratic principles, even as he sensed control slipping from Western hands. When news of Hitler's death spread and Germany surrendered shortly thereafter, Churchill was hailed as a wartime hero, but history granted no long rest. Britain, exhausted and wounded, turned toward social reform. In the general election of 1945, Churchill was defeated. Power slipped away swiftly and without sentiment. Yet he did not vanish. Churchill continued to warn the world of a descending Iron Curtain. When he returned as Prime Minister in 1951, he was no longer the wartime commander, but an elder statesman bearing the memory and lessons of an age of fire. Winston Churchill's legacy lies not in perfection, but in resolve. He stood firm when darkness was at its deepest, guiding his nation through words, vision, and unyielding will. In democracy's darkest hour, he refused to let fear determine destiny. And in doing so, he became more than a leader of Britain. He became a symbol of humanity's capacity to resist oppression, even when every door appears closed.